up, Brady! Ah! Let's go! This guy's silky. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome back. Welcome back to Chicago Hockey Radio. Happy Monday. I hope all of you enjoyed your weekend. I know no streams this weekend. Absolutely criminal. Yeah, it was tough. No playoff hockey. I'm just not used to it, you know. My name's Lee Grossman. This is Justin Lynch. Raven Gasser's here with us, as always, on the ones and twos. We got a good show for you. We're going to do a lot of Cup final talk. I want to say my piece on the entire Chief interview from Friday, which I thought was phenomenal. I thought it was a really engaging and entertaining show. Just
I was missing you there.
I know. Maybe some things I would have liked to get off my chest in that one.
Fair.
We're going to do a lot of Cup final talk because I haven't really been able to do that at all yet. And we're also having on Dan Gallant, the Danalytic from Oilers Nations Radio and hockeyfights.com. We've talked to him before. He's a great guest. I'm excited.
Should be a fun combo. Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to him, not just about the Cup final, but also this entire Edmonton Oiler playoff run so far.
For sure.
Yeah, but let's start with a bit of news. Congratulations are in place. Sorry to Thomas in chat, but congratulations are in place for the London Knights for winning the Memorial Cup against the Medicine Hat Tigers. I believe they lost in the final last year.
That's right.
Got back, did it this year. Congrats to them. I know some people, a bunch of Gavin McKenna fans will be, very bummed from that one.
Sucks for them, Lee.
Yeah.
I really just feel terrible for them and Thomas. But McKenna, I was going to say he ghosted, but he did have a pretty nice goal actually that game. But I mean, normally the big game players.
I wanted to hate, but now that I think about it, he scored. So.
He did score. He's probably their best player. They were kind of dominated, to be honest. Like, I was a little surprised. Like, I know that London Knights team is good, but I know the Medicine Hat Tigers, that's an absolutely loaded squad, so I probably would have seen them as the favorites. But London got their revenge there, Memorial Cup, and Easton Cowan, I know Leafs prospect, I think he had a pretty good game. So good for him. I mean, I still think that heartbreaker he did an empty net was really cringe earlier in the tournament, but good for him for at least coming out on top there. But I must be said, there was something I got to rant about here. TSN put out a post the other day saying, is Easton Cowan the best London Knights player of all time? And I'm who the hell played for the London Knights? Pete Kane, 88, Patrick Kane, Showtime, and you're saying Easton Cowan is the best London Knights player. That's just so cringe. And you would not see that post if it wasn't a Toronto Maple Leafs prospect, but I just had to get that off my chest. I thought that was pretty disrespectful to legends.
That might be worse than saying Denway is the next Bergeron.
Seriously, not just Kane, Mitch Marner, Matthew Tkachuk, all the legends that have played for the London Knights. He's like Easton Cowan is the best London Knights player. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. You keep drinking the Kool-Aid on that one, buddy.
I guess I have no clue what Easton Cowan's stats are compared to those other guys, so I guess I'm getting upset for no reason. I will admit that right now, but I would just imagine that just seems unless his stats are overwhelmingly
his stats are pretty good, to be fair. Yeah.
Are they way better than those guys you mentioned?
No, but he's been there longer. I think the longevity argument, right? I think he has a lot of the records there and stuff, but it's I wouldn't say he's had the same impact. But anyway, I don't know if those guys won World Cups, to be fair. So yeah.
People in chat asking me to show my hair. I'll show it if I get frustrated. I'll show it if I get frustrated on this show. I'll just give you a sneak peek of the back. We didn't have any toner, so it's was fucking yellow as shit. So, the crazy decision to go with this cut. But
this feels like the early CHR days again when you had that M&M cut. Yeah, good stuff. I like it.
I just need to get some of that dark color out. That's all, chat, and then I'll rock it on the show. Don't worry, you'll see the bleach soon enough. It's just too early. It's kind of like one of the. I don't want to like jump scare you. You know, I don't want to.
That's fine. Yeah.
It might be too much too early.
Fair enough. Yeah, the London Knights though, it's like what a run. I mean, like they're always there. I mean, every year in junior hockey, it feels like they're amongst the top dogs. So, gotta give them credit. That's just a well-oiled machine of organization right there. The London Knights. That is London, Ontario, Canada, not London in England. That was a callback to. I don't know if you saw what those old Kane and Taze videos back in the day. In one of them, I think Taze dissed Kane, like saying you're not actually from London because it's in Canada or something. I don't know. The real ones get that reference there. The old Blackhawk TV days. Good stuff.
Wow, we're doing Blackhawk TV talk.
Those were the times, man. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, do you want to talk about some of this individual news here?
Sure.
I was listening to 32 Thoughts, the last couple. They put one out an hour ago, but just talking about how Utah might be looking for a big fish this summer. They've got the 4th overall pick. It makes sense that, like, given everything I've heard about that owner and that team, like, it does feel like that team is going to be swinging for the fences this summer, because it's like they were close. Honestly, like in their first season, they were pretty close to a playoff spot.
They're right there.
And it's like you've got the facilities to be super aggressive this summer. I think they want to take that approach, is because we've seen some teams do different things. Like, I don't know. You can talk about what Vegas did when they entered the league, and you can talk about Seattle. I don't know what
different
Seattle's.
philosophies of play.
I have no clue what Seattle's doing.
The opposite is Vegas.
But I think Utah is probably trying to take a page out of that book and just be like, let's be aggressive as possible, and then like ask for forgiveness later.
I like that. I think that's the play, man. I think I'd rather be more aggressive than passive, like the Kraken. It feels like they've been too conservative. So, we'll see what they do. I imagine in terms of big fish, you think that could be a Mitch Marner target right there, the Utah Mammoth. Might think that might be near the top of his list. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if Mitch is going to want to go there, but I would assume they're going to be one of the teams paying the most.
For sure. They're going to set him an offer, you would think. I did see the Sharks, one of the teams listed that will be going after Mitch Marner, which, by the way, if the Sharks somehow manage to leave this offseason with Mitch Marner and Michael Misa, I'm not really sure if you're going to be hearing from me for a while. So hopefully that doesn't occur for my mental health and sanity, I would say. Yeah.
You're going to be a scary person.
Yeah, I don't think you want to be around me if that occurs. Yeah.
Congratulations are in place. Sasha Barkov wins the Selke.
Yeah, no, good for him. To the surprise of absolutely nobody. I always joked around with Bergeron retiring. It's kind of going to be his trophy now. I imagine he's already won a few of those. He's probably going to win more. And by the way, Blackhawks legend Ilya Mikheyev actually did receive one vote for the Selke trophy.
Really?
So I'd love to whoever gave him that vote. I just want to shake their hand, man. Like, Ilya Mikheyev, baby. One of the most underrated players in the CHL is Ilya Mikheyev. I think we've all been saying that this whole time, right?
Yeah, people say that all the time.
Yeah, Agent 007 finally getting his praise, but no, good for Sasha Barkov. He also won the King Clancy as well. So I mean, the awards haven't even the award celebration hasn't even happened yet. I just already won 2. So, and I'm sure I'll want to win 3 or 4. So we'll see if he can add to his trophy case in a little bit here. Yeah.
And so I've heard that the NHL is not doing like the normal like ceremony for these awards that normally goes on around. That's why like we just found out about the Selke. They're going to be dropping these like throughout. I think the rest of the Stanley Cup final. They're not doing it like a
ceremony.
I keep trying to say award ceremony, but then I almost say reward ceremony, and that's not exactly what's happening. It's an award ceremony. They're not doing that. They're doing like kind of like how the NFL when they like tell a player
drop stuff.
The NFL will tell players that they're making it to the Hall of Fame by like surprising them with a camera crew at their house or whatever. And so I think that's what the NHL is trying to do with some of these individual awards, just to
spice it up, I guess.
Spice it up, and I think that they could probably be more meaningful and impactful. Whereas, like, if you're showing up to an award ceremony, you're a finalist, you're like sitting with all these people in suits. It's not really like hockey.
You know what? I'm totally okay with that. Like, I don't know if you've been watching the award ceremonies the last few years. Some of the cringest television you will ever see. So, yeah, I'm totally fine with doing away with that and going about it in that fashion. I think it adds a little bit of spice to it. I think he's at like the Children's Hospital or something when he received those awards. That's pretty cool. Nice to see. And yeah, just a way to kind of, because it just seemed like it was all for show before, right? I think even the draft this year is different too, right? So that I don't love, actually. I think the draft, I don't love the centralization of it, but the awards, I'm totally okay with doing away with those little ceremonies and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch those. Like I'll see the clips, I'll watch like the speeches, but I'm never gonna sit down for an entire award ceremony.
You're saving time. Yeah, it's not worth your time, man.
And but it's not even just with the like I'm not fucking sitting down to watch the Grammys for a couple hours.
I've never been into that stuff. Yeah, the Oscars or all those. I never watched those award shows. They're just kind of cringe. I think Ricky Gervais had a funny little talk about that. It's a funny clip, kind of making fun of that stuff.
Oh yeah, that was years ago. I don't know. Award ceremonies are just kind of boring. So
yeah.
Good for the NHL trying to spice it up and their marketing team's doing better, because it's
finally
just trying to do small things like that to I'm not saying that that's like growing the game or anything. I just mean like trying to be creative and not do the status quo, because the status quo is the NHL and the smallest of the major sports. So I guess that's all there is to say about that.
That's totally fair. We just finished up Memorial Cup talk. Do you want to do some more Gavin McKenna talk? Because I know if you saw John Buccigross, he kind of linked him to MSU. He's been doing a lot of like those hint type posts, right? He linked Q to the Ducks, and that turned out to be true. He linked Blashill to the Hawks. That turned out to be true. So nothing confirmed there, but he did put out a post with McKenna and MSU, so hinting at that. So that would be an interesting little development for next year.
Yeah. How long do we have to wait to like actually find out where that kid's going to play?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that one might be a bit of a build-up, but Caden Lindstrom, his teammate there, Medicine Hat's going to be there next year, so that would make sense, and that program throwing money around. So I think for McKenna's sake, he'd be better off playing college hockey next year. I think you said it, so I don't think he really has anything left to prove there, in Canadian junior hockey, if there's 50-plus point streaks and stuff. So I'm curious to see if that occurs and what other teams. I imagine there's quite a few organizations in them, so we'll see where he goes. Whoever ponies up the most money, probably.
I hope that he goes to a good program, and the Frozen Four. Yeah, and the Frozen Four next year will just be cinema, especially if you've got Gavin McKenna playing in it.
That's right, future Blackhawk, right? Yeah.
Jeez,
we're already doing that. We're already doing it. I'm starting to just seeing the more we talk about those old Hawks teams and Patrick Kane. I was a big fan of him, and he was a childhood Hawks fan. The more I think about it, it's like, it would be nice, wouldn't it? But we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Let's transition now, and I want to talk a bit about the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, let's do it.
As Dan gets on and joins, we can just slide him into the conversation.
Yeah, let's do it.
So something that I thought was interesting is because I've been looking at the sportsbook shocker over the past few days. I did take a couple of bets today that I wish I took days ago. But the Edmonton Oilers are now a minus 122 favorite. It was like a complete pick'em, like they were pretty much completely even. But now Edmonton's obviously been getting a lot of action, a lot of people putting their coin on the Edmonton Oilers. They're minus 122, where the Florida Panthers are a plus 102 underdog in this one. And it's like, I guess maybe that would. That makes sense because look, the Oilers are the home team, right?
Yeah,
they have the home ice advantage, even though both teams were 3 seeds. But I just think the Florida Panthers are so incredibly good that I thought this was going to be a pick 'em, or it was going to lean slightly in favor of the Florida Panthers. So honestly, to my surprise, even with Hyman out, that the Oilers have become a favorite. It's something to watch because I do have respect for the sports book, but. I won't lie. I did. And as I see that Dan's about to be joining us here, Dan Gallant is joining us right now. Dan, I was just about to say that I put money on the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup. With that being said, how are you doing?
Bye money.
Thanks for joining.
Well, on behalf of the sports book that you sent that money to, I'll say thanks.
You're donating that money.
It's my tie.
Very courteous of you.
They appreciate that donation. My sports book is hoping that maybe that sports book will send some of the money over my way because I grabbed the Oilers at plus 950.
Oh,
Yeah. So
may I ask?
that
When did you
one
get?
that one was late in the game there. I can tell you exactly. I think it was in early May. It was just before the playoffs.
Okay.
I naturally I was watching to see what the sports books would be doing for us
Mhm.
and how they would be viewing us.
Mhm.
And I just kind of waited until I saw the best number, and I have the best number in the office. I'm trying to see when the date is. My slip won't tell me, but yeah, it was back when we were still there was that it was just after the whiff of the division had kind of
Mm.
wafted off of us, and then
Yeah.
we headed towards third place there. So
I love that, and maybe that bet at that time was placed more with your heart than your brain. But regardless, you got the plus 950.
There was a lot of
Nobody
doubt around that team then. Yeah.
and reasonably
well, hey,
so.
Yeah.
it's one of those things with this team. I really do think that we saw some maturity out of them. I think that there was a moment towards the end of the season where you could have had McDavid and Draisaitl kind of drag us to a division lead. I know that they ended up finishing 9 points back of Vegas, but there was still that opportunity for them. But I really just think like they had a bigger message in mind and a bigger moment in mind, and we are here we are talking about them in the Stanley Cup Finals. I don't think I was gonna see. I don't think I ever would have believed you if you had told me that it would have been 6 games, 5 games, and 5 games.
Yeah.
That seems crazy to me. But I definitely feel like there's still there's just a different level of maturity with this Edmonton Oilers team this time.
For sure.
I agree with you. First of all, something I want to get your opinion on, and Justin and I have been talking about this on live streams in the show over the past couple weeks. And I don't know if you're going to have a different perspective on this since you're the one who watches this team night in, night out. We don't. Have the Edmonton Oilers in a way cracked the code? Because when I look at the way they ended the regular season, it was similar to how the Florida Panthers ended the regular. Did these guys say, hey, look, we don't care where we're seated. We don't care about any of this as long as we're in? Did they take the foot off the gas maybe a little bit towards the end of the regular season and just because Leon and Connor they have looked so dominant and so fresh throughout this entire postseason. Did they learn lessons from last year and be like, hey, the regular season doesn't matter?
Yeah, it's a really good point, and I think it's you've kind of just hit the nail on the head. The Oilers learned some lessons last season. They had no business being within 1 game of the Stanley Cup championship after going down 3-0 to the Florida Panthers. No business being there, and they went and they did not go quietly into the night. We appreciated that, but yeah, I think that you have to believe that this core group just kind of took a look in the mirror and said, you know what? Regular season, fun. Yeah, it would be great if we could win the division. It would be awesome if we could have home ice advantage throughout the playoffs. That's great and gravy. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what your standing is. You've got to go and play those playoff games. And the Florida Panthers is a prime example of a team that they've gone out and they win the head games. I look at this Oilers roster now and I hate half of the roster because it's guys that just play the game on that edge that it's upsetting. It gets you off of your game. It throws you for a loop. And, I really do just think that the Corey Perrys, the Vander Kanes of the world, the Trent Fredericks are the ones that they come into your team, and yeah, you hate to have them there, but they're just the guys that are going to stir the drink when you need the drink stirred, and that's it. And now now you see Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl do that little head nod on the bench that everybody's got the clip of.
They took it personally. Yeah.
And now it's game on. And where we have seen those guys turn that on with 20 games left to go in the season and 30 games left to go in the season, now they're doing it 9 games into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Look out, the rest of the league.
I think that's huge. And I feel like I don't know, it feels like every single year we're talking about the teams, whether it be the Edmonton Oilers or the Toronto Maple Leafs or whoever you feel as though is like a snake-bitten team in the postseason. There's always those questions of yeah, the regular season's great and all, but you need to have everything here. Like it needs to be in the playoffs. And I think that some guys and some teams don't learn that and don't realize that. And it's just like what you do in the postseason is so important. But a question I've been wanting to ask you for a while, because we spoke to you like a couple months now, and now we've seen this entire Edmonton Oilers, postseason run up until this point now. The most growth that I've seen specifically from McDavid and Draisaitl, and I want to get your take on this, is the sound bites. I don't even remember if it was the series against Vegas or Dallas, but
stepping up for Skinner
and just the defenseman, Connor McDavid going to the media and being like, "Yes, we can play defense," giving them these sound bites. Like Draisaitl and McDavid clearly pissed off with the media. When I saw that, I didn't think to myself, "Oh, like Connor McDavid's really annoyed with this question." I think Connor McDavid realizes that his team has struggled to play defense. Like you look at some of these guys on the back end, Klingberg, Stetcher, like Kulak, they're doing a great job. Don't get me wrong, but like it's Stetcher. Like Stetcher can't go to the media and be like, "Hey, I'm a really good defense." Klingberg can't go there and be like, "Hey, what are you talking about? I've been doing great all season." No one's going to question Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid when they say stuff like that, because you're not going to say, "Oh, Leon Draisaitl isn't defending." Is that like just a big IQ, like leadership growth from those guys? Because that's what's lacking in Toronto, if I'm being honest with you.
They're winners.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit of both. It's a bit of two things. There's definitely leadership there. I also just think that it's a recognition of who they are. And it's a recognition of what this. I feel like at 38 years of watching this team. I mean, I wasn't watching when I was 5 years old, but so say 33 years of watching this team, really feel like it's a team that has always had to handle its business in the other end. And if it can handle its business in the other end, the rest of it can just kind of fall into place. But for the fact that whole team last year, outside of Connor and Leon, there was multiple times during the playoffs where we just kind of looked around. As a fan base, you look around the room and you say, who else is going to step up? Who else is going to help these guys out? And I really just feel like they haven't had to do that this year. There's been a lot more of the removal of that. I do think that we were heading down that path, that scary path of maybe having a few more sound bites like that with the LA series. I really think that this Oilers team came into that series and thought maybe it was going to be a little bit easier of a matchup. And the LA Kings punched them in the mouth twice in the first round, and the Oilers really haven't looked back since. They haven't been the same team since they got back to Edmonton in game 3. And so I mean, I think it's two ways, right? Like, again, it's the leadership, it's the identifying of what needs to just be done in the room and done on the ice to get this team over the hump. And it's not Stuart Skinner. And it's not Troy Stetcher. It's not Darnell Nurse. It's that offense. It's the offense that's going to power us every single night to go and dominate the other team. And that's not just dominating them on the scoreboard, but that's dominating the time of ice. That's the dominating the feel and the vibes of the game too.
So everybody always talks about McDry all the time. And as usual, they've shown up, right? And hopefully for McDavid, he can win a Conn Smythe on the right side this time. But besides those two, which players amongst those kind of depth contributors have kind of impressed you the most throughout this playoff run? Because it does seem like the Oilers have gotten contributions throughout the lineup, which is something they haven't always had this time of year.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly it. And I said it in my last answer, where as a fan base last season, last playoff run, and the last few playoff runs, you've just kind of been left looking in the second and third round, looking for some offense behind you. And this year, I really do think that the team, from like right down to the person, understands that you are the next man up kind of mentality. And we've seen it throughout this playoff run. I wrote down a bunch of notes ahead of this time because it's just, there's so much going on, except for Victor Arvidsson. Victor Arvidsson had some quotes that kind of made me question, is he on board with this next guy up kind of thing? But you've seen it with Calvin Pickard, who on this show, with my last appearance on this show, I said he is your prototypical backup in this NHL, current NHL. He is exactly what you need. Stuart Skinner, falters behind this offense and lack of defense. Calvin Pickard comes in game 3. Well, yeah, he faltered a little bit more, but locks the door after that, and was, if not for Thomas Hurdle standing on the back of his leg, we probably still would be looking at Calvin Pickard as an option in the net. So then Stuart Skinner comes back, and he falters a little bit, but now he is absolutely lights out. 6-1 in his last 7 games with 3 shutouts in that time. Unbelievable. Kasperi Kapanen, a guy who nobody even really thought was going to factor in at all in this playoff run. Credit to Stan Bowman for going out and grabbing him. I know. Yeah. We have to give our roses where we criticize the most. But Kasperi Kapanen comes in, and the second game he's in the lineup, he scores the OT winner that slams the door on the Vegas Golden Knights. You've got a guy like Jeff Skinner, first playoff game against the LA Kings, has a terrible night. Can't play defense to save his life. Yes, he gets an assist, but we joked on my podcast that I'm on, Oilers Nation Radio, that we may never see Jeff Skinner again. He may only get 1 playoff game. Then, for the fact that the Oilers kind of play a greasy game, backed themselves into a little bit of a corner where Dallas was doing a little bit of headhunting. Zach Hyman goes down with an injury. Jeff Skinner steps in. And what does he do but go out and score a goal in a moment where where he absolutely took the soul from the Dallas Stars. So it for this team, it's just every guy is the next man up. I say Zach Hyman, that's a guy that scored 50 goals for us years ago. Dude has 6 goals this playoffs, but leads the league in hits for the playoff run. So every guy is just doing what they need to do to make this win happen, make every single win happen. I can't believe that I'm talking to you after we beat the Dallas Stars in what was essentially 4 games, if not for 1 period in the first period of the first. It was
domination. Yeah, seriously. Everybody said it was going to be a close series. I thought it was going to be like the dictionary definition of a 7-game series. And that's the thing, too. It feels like every opponent the Oilers have faced these playoffs have gotten better. And yet the series, it feels like have gotten easier each time. I'd say the Knights clear the Kings, and obviously the Stars clear the Knights. And it's like, it just seems like they're getting better and better right now. 12 wins in the last 14, an absolute roll right now. But I guess my question, you brought up Zach Hyman. Obviously, they're without him for the rest of the season, this cup run. Is that something that obviously that concerns you there? And who are the guys think they're going to have to step up? I'm imagining like the Corey Perrys and the like. Yeah.
Well, that's the guy. And I didn't even get to mention in all of the players that have kind of just stepped up and assumed new roles. Here we have 40-year-old Corey Perry.
Where did this come from?
Ageless wonder. And you know what? Really, I think that, you guys as Blackhawk fans, anybody that's watched him play hockey, he's not the same player that he ever was. And of course, naturally, of all of us of this ilk,
Father time.
I mean, myself at 38, I understand that aging is not graceful, but he's just a guy that has that offensive acumen to be in the right spot, to be able to participate with a guy like McDavid and Nugent Hopkins up there on that top line. And it is just more of that next man up, but it's not like you're hoping that Derek Ryan might be able to be the next, great offensive superstar, or you're not expecting Vasily Podkolzin to come out and score you a ton of goals, but he's contributing, and every guy is contributing along the way. You only have to win 4 more games against these Florida Panthers. And if you look back to last year's playoff run, we are 3-1 in our last 4 games against them. So yes, I really, there's a concern there. Of course, you lose your top scorer, you lose a guy that, again, he's leading the league in hits right now in this playoff run in Zach Hyman. But we have talented players coming up in this depth with this organization, with what this team has been able to do with Jeff Jackson in the summer and then Stan Bowman. I was upset at it a little bit when I was on your show the last time, but now when you look at the depth, it's there's no more of this oh my God, I hope that, Johanna V2 might be able to help us out. We're really looking at NHL grade backup players. Like Ty Emberson hasn't gotten a game in recent time, but I would be confident with him if we had to go back to him on defense. Troy Stetcher, another guy that gets it. He's been playing really well. He's our Darnell Nurse whisperer, and I think you might see him again in the Stanley Cup Finals run. But it is just, again, it's a position of just, you don't have to expect superstardom from these guys, but they are NHL players, and they're going to come out and they're going to play their role for Leon and Connor and this team to be able to win the game.
One thing I will give Stan Bowman credit for, and a lot of people were criticizing him for at the time, but is the fact that he didn't think the Oilers needed goaltending at the trade deadline, right? He put his faith in Stuart Skinner, and that didn't look like the right decision at first in these playoffs after those first 2 games. But man, he's come after Pickard. Obviously, he's come right back in, and he's been absolutely phenomenal. You feel pretty confident in his game right now, Stuart Skinner? Think he could lead you to the Cup?
Yeah, well, and I think that it's really just, it's such a fascinating fan base to be a part of. Yeah. I love being an Oilers fan because we are so good at being critical of ourselves. And Stuart Skinner is just a prime example of that, where he has some of our fan base split on the side of he can do no right. And then there's some of our fan base, like myself, that find ourselves defending him to no end. But it's not really to say that I defend Stuart Skinner so much as the goaltender, as the team, as the Edmonton Oilers, playing, again, that style of keeping the puck out of your own end. Yeah. It seems old-fashioned, it seems archaic, but the Oilers have just always been that team. I grew up being taught that Grant Fuhr was a believer of, you only had to allow, or you could only allow as many goals as one less than the other team had scored, than your team had scored. So it's just, like, it's a mentality with this team that when the goalie is looking good, I really try not to give him too much credit, as much as I give the team credit for playing a good, solid team game around him and in front of him. And then when the goalie is bad, I also try not to rag on him too much. And instead, I try to find what the issues are with the team. And really, to me, most of the time, it just comes down to the fact that they're getting themselves dog walked out of the offensive zone, and they're creating turnovers and causing turnovers in front of Skinner and or Pickard that then lead to the issues that just kind of compile and pile up. And that's the thing for me with a goalie is, when you can expect a goalie to make a save here and then, but when he's having to have 7 of those make a save events in one period, how can you expect the guy to keep making a save for you? It's ridiculous. So I try not to get too high on the goalie, try not to get too low on the goalie. He's doing exactly what he needs to do right now. 3 shutouts, though, that's mental.
It is. Yeah. The shutout thing is crazy. One thing I will say, though, is, like, even the past few games where he's had, like, obviously not the shutout ones, but he's been letting softies squeak in. Like, there's been, like, one a game where, like, a softie squeaking in. And so now what I want to ask you, and like I know I told you that I did bet on Florida. I would love to see Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl win a Stanley Cup, for the record. Inevitable. I'm not some, like, weird hater here. I would love for them to win. I just, like, I'm coming on the show. I got to pick who I think's going to win. I got to do that.
No, I want to see the Canada curse continue. I'm just kidding.
So something you mentioned there about, like, turning the puck over in front of Pickard and Skinner, and how that obviously is not easy for any goaltender. Look, this Florida Panthers team is going to get after this Oilers defense. They're going to get after Skinner too. How does this team, how are these individuals, more specifically on the blue line and whoever's playing in net, how do you think these guys are going to respond in a game 5, in a game 6, when, look, you've played 4 or 5 games already of this Florida Panthers team just attacking you relentlessly? How do you think they're going to respond? Because for me, that's where I see Florida winning this series.
Well, hey, I mean, I respect the fact that you're wearing your bedazzled America hat. That's just an extra little FU to the Canadian in me. I don't have my O Canada hat up here, but
you knew what he was doing with his,
No, it's
no. Wait. I have this hat on because I got this fucking terrible. Yeah.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah. So continue.
Shout out to your junior team. I would love to send out all your teammates there. You got that obviously bleached for your playoff run.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things that my counterpoint to that is, I've watched these Edmonton Oilers in games 4, 5, and 6 against the very same Florida Panthers that had, like, to me, they would have had the most mental steel of any team in the entire playoff run that the Oilers have faced. We were down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup Finals, and you think Matthew Tkachuk wasn't relentless about that?
True.
For 3 games and 4 games straight? Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, all they've heard since that playoff run is this Amazon Prime, dig the fuck in right fucking now. You know, like that's all they hear every single time. So yeah, I really do think that the Florida Panthers won the mind games battle last year, and it was a war of attrition therein, and then you get to game 7, then it's anybody's game. And I just don't see these same Florida Panthers being able to do that. I think that there's definitely going to be times that they're going to drag the Oilers into a fight. And I love that. I'm really hopeful that we might get our second fight at hockeyfights.com this NHL playoff.
So even one so far?
We need another one.
It would be unbelievable to see it in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yes.
But outside of that, I really don't see the Florida Panthers being able to take these Oilers out of the game for 3 periods at a time consistently for 4 games out of the 7. It just the math isn't there for me. I don't think I would have told you before the Dallas series that this would have gone any less than 7 games. But even after I saw them, just kind of, I was with you guys. I'm with you guys. I really thought Otter was going to be huge. I thought Mikko Rantanen was going to be outscored by Kasperi Kapanen. I mean, no, sorry, I didn't think that. And here we are. These Edmonton Oilers have just kind of dominated. And I watched these same Florida Panthers not be able to put their foot on the throat of the Carolina Hurricanes, so much so as I think the Carolina Hurricanes just kind of folded in that second period, and then they just had no answer left after that. And that's where, again, the Florida Panthers might win a period here and there against these Edmonton Oilers, but I don't think that they're going to win those 4 games worth of 3 periods at a time.
Can I give you more pushback and see how you respond?
Yeah, please do.
So respond to this. I think that the special teams battle is going to be everything in this playoff series. Obviously, Edmonton, I think, is hitting at a 30% clip this postseason, which is tremendous. And look, I think they need to keep that up, because when I look at the depth of these 2 teams, I know that these Oilers guys have performed well over this postseason run, but I just you can't look at the third line for the Edmonton Oilers and look at the third line for the Florida Panthers and tell me that those are even matchups there. I would disagree with that take.
That's what I thought in the Stars series, though. Look how that turned out.
Well, this Dallas Stars team is not this Florida, and also that third line for the Dallas Stars, I mean, I guess when they had Johnston down there, but I'm still going with these Florida Panthers guys over the Dallas Stars. Absolutely. Those guys, I mean, come on, these guys have won it. Point I was trying to make is that I think Florida is going to be the better 5-on-5 team. Last year, it was kind of a similar narrative where Edmonton, red hot on the power play, needed to keep it up. They didn't. I don't remember what they finished with in the Stanley Cup Finals, but I know that Panthers penalty kill was able to break that down, and that's what this Panthers team has done the past couple of years. Is it feels like every series they're taking on the best power play, and they're able to stifle them. How important do you think the special teams battle is going to be in this one?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question just because I really feel like the Edmonton Oilers have shifted their the way that they kind of do things. The power play merchant idea is just not true as it is right now. The Oilers, I was trying to rapidly pull up as many stats as I could. I couldn't find anything to back me up. More than I do know that the lion's share of the Oilers games, I'll just say the majority of Oilers games have not gone our way for power plays this playoff run. Totally fair. We are, I said it earlier, we are a team of players that I dislike, and I understand that we are looking to agitate, and that's part and parcel with that. The Oilers penalty kill this offseason has been atrocious, and so I will agree with you that if the Oilers are to get into the trenches with these Florida Panthers, that it's not going to go well for them. I believe that this Oilers team at 5v5 has just changed the way that it plays the game. And the Florida Panthers, it's hard to It's hard to describe. They're just, I agree with your assessment that they are top to bottom. They're more talented, but they're not as skilled as what the Edmonton Oilers are going to bring to the plate. And so where they beat you in that skill is they got you in the head games. And that's where I don't think the Oilers are going to be pulled down into it. I think that you're going to see more of the Oilers offense coming in waves, and it's going to be more of the Florida Panthers just kind of sitting back and trying to respond to that, more than what we saw last year where Florida was dictating. Florida had the Oilers mentally and physically in that series, and it was ugly for those first 3 games, and then the war in game 7. So yeah, I will give you your roses on that. The Florida Panthers offense is better than what the Dallas Stars have shown, and what Vegas certainly showed in their series against us. So the Oilers haven't seen that yet, but I think that the Oilers are better 5v5 this year than they were last year, and that's where the tide is going to turn for sure.
Another depth guy I think has had a pretty nice contribution on this roster is Evander Kane. Obviously, he was out for the whole regular season. He's come back in these playoffs a big piece. What kind of impact do you expect him, or does he need to have in this Cup final?
Yeah, I'd like to see more from him. I'd always like to see more from him. He's a guy that he started to come. It's not to say that I'm disappointed in what I've had from him. Again, like you mentioned, missing the entire season on the LTIR. And we were the only team that the league seemed to be paying attention to when it came back to his return. So he missed game 1 of the LA series as well, which was just a funky decision by them. But anyways, moving on past that, for him, I feel like he came into his own with Draisaitl in this Dallas Stars series. And I think that he's more comfortable when he plays with the big boys like that. And so saw a lot more shooting from him, which is what you need to have. He needs to come in and replace that offensive prowess from the Zach Hyman of the world, but definitely would like to see more of him on that mental side of things. He's an agitator, and he's going to be a burr in the side of the Florida Panthers if he's effective, if he's playing at that high level. But there's a guy that, I still expect another level from him. So hopeful that will turn out in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I was surfing on LinkedIn the other day, and I saw Evander Kane's profile pop up. I was not expecting that, Mr. Entrepreneur. So 2 entrepreneurs out here. Yeah.
There was a stretch we were giving him shit here in Edmonton because he has a paid subscription Instagram service, and it was like during his injury recovery time, and it's just like, what are you doing, Evander? Like
trying to
just
pedal
focus
on Instagram,
it's wild. It's wild in these streets.
What do you want the top 6 to look like for Edmonton?
Well, for me, I've always been a separation of church and power kind of guy, and so I like to have my McDavids and my Draisaitl's separated as much as we can. I really think that kind of helps the power play just become that lethality that you do want to have, and you do need to continue to operate at that 30% clip, I think, to be effective again. But yeah, for the top 6, without a Zach Hyman, it's Nugent Hopkins and it's Corey Perry up on that top line. And then you've got Evander and Draisaitl, I think, working together really well. And then it's a question for me. I think you probably end up seeing a guy like we've got at Daily Faceoff, they've got Kasperi Kapanen penciled in there right now. But I would like to see Trent Frederic. I have not been inspired by Trent's offensive output and his just like his skill game, but man, oh man, is there some heart in that player, and I just want desperately to love that guy more, and I want to get him up in that limelight and see what he can do with that offensive pop there. But right now there is going to be a couple of options sliding in and out just because of injuries and because of versatility within this lineup. There is other options. Connor Brown coming back in, that does jostle around some of that lineup as well. Depends on his health, which I'm not upset at. Again, guy that comes in and kills some penalties for us against the Florida Panthers, it's going to be great.
Best Connor on the Oilers, right? Connor Brown.
Is there any?
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Is there any concern though about that second line? I just like when I'm looking at this series big picture, and I've been trying to do this past few days to decide. I decided like yesterday.
It's
I
hard,
think that I was picking Florida in this series, but if you do separate Connor and Leon, I just when I look at that second line. If it's Kane and Kapanen, or if it's Podkolzin in there, or if it's Frederic there, I do get concerned about how productive that line's going to continue to be against whether it's that second line for Florida or even if it's that third pairing, the Lindell line. Is there any concern for you there about continuing to see scoring output from that second line if Leon and Connor are separated?
No, yes, of course. Sorry, I should say, of course, there's going to be concern, just from the fact that those guys are always going to be hot and cold, and Kane has not produced to the top level yet. But no, I mean, like this team is just rolling, and they're doing the things that they need to do, and I really do think that that pairing of Kane and Draisaitl, whoever you put on the right side, is going to just go and play that role of puck retrieval for those dudes. And you've got the duality threat of Leon Draisaitl between his shot, which is legendary, and then his passing, which is underrated. And then if Evander Kane is shooting the net or shooting the puck on the net, it's lights out. So yeah, I'm a big guy, and I think I learned it from watching the Chicago Blackhawks and what they did with the duos there. I'm just a guy that thinks that if you can put two talented players together, a third piece can just kind of come in and play different roles as needed. And then when you look at McDavid with with Nugent Hopkins now, it really doesn't matter who's on that other side. True. It just depends on how you're going to play it. They're going to play the game. Corey Perry is being the option right now.
Do you have one? Because I've got another one.
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is kind of a different type of question, but if the Oilers win the Cup, who does McDavid pass it to first? I'm just curious. Is it Leon or maybe somebody?
It's gotta be Leon. That would crush me if it's not Leon.
Could be Nuge. I don't know. Yeah.
It's well, that is the. It's an interesting question. I can't believe that Sportsbooks covers this kind of.
Wait, really? They have odds on this?
I have.
Yes.
I have
what?
now. Yes,
who lifts the cup second? Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. I have. It's called the Stanley Cup handoff. Is the name of the line there, and it's been for a few years now. I've been working in the sports data and sports media industry for 18 years now. I started working for a company called Covers.com, or that had a website called Covers.com, and so I've been around prop betting for a long time, and like that reeks of the, what color is the Gatorade that the coach is going to get doused in kind of thing. But I guess there is a little bit of history to it. And so when you're looking at the betting right now, I believe the last time I checked, it is even odds between Nugent Hopkins and Leon Draisaitl.
Wow. Okay.
At the start of this Stanley Cup finals run, or Stanley Cup playoffs, the NHL put out an article and the odds were heavily leaned towards Ryan Nugent Hopkins. Just because Connor McDavid is a bit of a nerd when it comes to hockey and understands the history of organizations and understands what Ryan Nugent Hopkins has been through. He's seen some 8 head coaches and the decade of how many.
He's been through it.
He's seen how many draft lottery wins. It's just insane. So the storyline is there, but some of the people around Edmonton now believe that there is just a strong desire to have that photo of Leon and Connor handing the cup between each other.
That should be the next NHL cover if it is. Yeah.
But I'm the kind of guy that believes that he will go to Nugent Hopkins this time, and Leon and Connor will have their photo later on.
So that I guess that's the next question there. If the Oilers come away with this cup run, you think they can win multiple? Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things that you think
this guy's gonna be. No, I don't really believe in these guys.
Exactly.
We picked him up at at plus 950 before the season.
I don't know. Is it one and done, or could they go on a dynasty run?
Yeah. No Ekholm for the first 2 rounds. Click. Yeah, this guy's not going to believe in this fucking team.
No, but I think if you look around the league and you say you look at some of the teams that are structured in a way that they're structured, the Toronto Maple Leafs are a team that a lot of people compare us to, and it's just you have these 2 core guys, and then you've built up a space around them that kind of separates them money wise, and you don't get into the convoluted mess that the Toronto Maple Leafs are in right now, where they're paying 4 and 5 guys around that $10 million mark. So the Oilers have the ability to, I think, with the fact that the salary cap is thankfully going to skyrocket here,
that helps
and the fact that we've already signed Leon Draisaitl long term, I really do think that yes, this Oilers team will be in that Western Conference Finals hunt for the next 2 or 3 seasons. I don't know like who and or what the rest of the Western Conference does between Edmonton causing the dismantling of Calgary, Vancouver, Los Angeles. Seemingly we got Pete DeBoer fired mid-game in Game 5 there. I just or at least at the very least, we made him want to quit his job.
You guys broke the Dallas Stars. You don't have to explain that. I mean, you beat that team in 5, and it should have been 4. So
yes, yeah, it's insane. So yeah, it's a question of just what is next in the Western Conference. Is it the Winnipeg Jets? Are they going to take another step next year? Are the Dallas Stars still the team to beat? Will they re-sign Rant? Or I guess they did re-sign Rantanen. Will they be able to get some pieces around him to actually play offense?
Yeah,
it's incredible that Jason Robertson is the only Dallas Star that seems to show up against the Edmonton Oilers. So yeah, when it comes to the West, I think that the window is open for a couple more years, a couple more runs. And then it's a question of what does the East bring. So
and then we'll take it from there in 3 years, right? Delusion.
I do I love the way you answer that question. So many people, and you're going to answer that question, you're going to talk about all the things that the Oilers have, but I think that's like the true objective thing to do is look around at the conference, at the division. So I appreciate that you did that. Our producer Raven said that he has a question for you. Raven, you got one for Dan?
I do. First off, Dan, hello from me and Tassos.
Hey, Tassos and Raven.
Yes, sir. After after McDavid has grabbed the Campbell Bowl this year and not grabbing it last year, if the Oilers do not win this year, what is the fix that they have to make going forward?
Destroy it.
It's a great question. There really isn't a good answer for it, but it is going to be a third option for sure. I love the idea of him yeeting it into the crowd and saying, start a
video of him doing that.
celebrate with the rest of the crowd. I don't know. It's really funny to me. There's some video that came out of our watch party here at Rogers Place, of course, because Game 5 was in Dallas, and so many of the fans were like dismayed at the fact that he grabbed the trophy, and it's like, do we really not understand how? Like there was no path forward for Connor there other than to grab it and say enough is enough.
Yeah, if you're superstitious, you should that should not be like a question, that shouldn't be confusing to you if you're a superstitious person. But I remember watching the Blackhawks, during our dynasty era.
We never touched it, I don't think. Yeah.
Well, dude, I had places in my living room that I would sit, and if I didn't sit in that spot, they were gonna lose. So I think if you're a superstitious person, that he had to touch it after not doing so last year.
That's just it.
I've got one more for you. If they do this, and because I guess I've been hyping up the Florida Panthers this entire discussion. If McDavid and Draisaitl are able to do this, I think it's going to be one of the most impressive things. I was writing this team's obituary after Game 4 of the LA series, and I ended up looking foolish really soon after because that Game 5 was pathetic from LA, and I'm still really salty about it. But I was like, okay, even if they get through LA, they're not getting through Vegas. and then they walked through Vegas. And then it was like, yeah, Dallas, Edmonton, man, Edmonton's really rolling here, but I feel like my head's leaning Dallas. Like, this is so much better of a team. If the Oilers are able to do this, is Connor McDavid the GOAT? Is he already the GOAT?
Well, up here in Canada, and if you're asking me, he's already passed the great ones.
For various reasons.
But yeah, he's like, no, he's not the greatest of all time there. If it's one, I really do think he's still got work to do. And I think he knows that too. And I really, it's you tuck in multiple championships. Sidney Crosby has multiple championships.
Yep.
Alex Ovechkin, yeah, he does. He only has his one championship to his name, and then he's got the great ones as record. So it's job's not done for sure for him, I don't think. And I think he's just getting started here in Edmonton. And I think that's the part that, unfortunately, for any of your Toronto listeners, that they just have to start to grasp and start to understand. He is going to be an Edmonton Oiler for his entire career.
Why do I keep seeing that on
he's
Twitter?
a loyal guy, man. I don't see him. Yeah.
And also, why would you go? Honestly, how would he go to Toronto?
Yeah, no, of all places,
I'd
rather go to Chicago than Toronto.
I'll tell you two quick stories. I had during the Leafs, was it Game 6? I had the guy that hosts, Nick Alberga. He hosts our Leafs morning podcast, or Leafs morning take on the Leafs Nation network. He sent me a photo of Connor McDavid in a Leafs jersey in the second period, and I told him, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing? I believe in the Leafs more than you do." And then cut scene to Game 7. Well, we were wrong. But so there's that. Leaf fans, they just got to have their copium. You got to let them do it.
Yeah.
We as an Albertan, and as a person that in the political sphere, we're told as Alberta should just kind of sit off on our own and do our own thing. We tend to do that with Leaf fans in hockey talk.
It's probably wise.
But then the second piece I'll tell you is a little bit more of a touching story. Ben Stelter. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the name. Yep. The young man who captured Oil Country's heart back in 2022, I think it was. He was a Scotiabank skater, so he skated onto the ice with Connor McDavid. He was fighting a battle with cancer, and ultimately he ended up losing that battle. Unfortunately, fortunately, through that, we've been able to become close friends with his family, and I actually was able to talk to his mom and dad on was it Thursday? No, sorry, it would have been Tuesday of last week, which was actually Ben's 8th birthday. And the Stelters told me that unprompted, unbeknownst to them, Connor McDavid sent them a message that morning.
Oh my gosh.
And told them that they were winning the game. That they won that
call
night.
the shot.
That is
so
that's goat.
So,
that's goat. That's goat shit. That's goat shit.
So,
that's goat shit.
So
that's
I hope that the Stelters are okay with me sharing that kind of a story. It gives you those kinds of it just gives you that
like
that idea, I think, of just that connection that he has to this city and to the story that has been kind of woven around him and woven with him within it. So it's it's a special time. I genuinely get kind of emotional just thinking about it, just because it is it's something that for me I've never even come close to. Even last year, even in Game 7 against the Carolina Hurricanes, I've never come close to a championship. I really don't think it. I really don't feel it. If it happens this year, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. I don't know how I'm going to handle myself. I know that the country is going to be torn asunder. Some people will be so happy for us, and some people will be so mad.
Oh, it should have been us. Yeah.
And I love that, and I'm excited for all of those conversations if they happen. But I really think that any fan base that's ever been to a championship, you can understand this kind of just like emotion that you have right before, where it's just like, who knows what, like, but I'm always forever thinking of the people that were fans and haven't been able to be or aren't able to be with us there. And yeah, that Ben story was Connor McDavid is an Edmonton Oiler for life, and I'm pretty humbled to be able to kind of feel that and be able to be an Oilers fan for that.
They're inevitable. It's a matter of when, not if. Yeah.
That's an awesome story. Thanks for sharing that with us. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big Team Canada hater. I'm obviously a huge Team USA guy. I don't really root for Canadian players if they are not on the Blackhawks, but I cannot help but love and admire Connor McDavid. I've just never seen anything like him. I think he's the best ever already. You know, maybe he's not the greatest, but I think he's undoubtedly the best player to ever play the game. And I'm going to be rooting for your Oilers. I'm going to be rooting for McDavid and my German brother, Leon Draisaitl. Let's just hope this is an awesome Stanley Cup final.
Right.
And,
yes, sir.
I don't know if you have any more for him. Dan, you've been super, super generous with your time today. We really appreciate it. Love talking to you always. And I'm going to be DMing you during every game. So sorry in advance.
How many games got the Oilers?
Please do for sure. And if anybody, I don't know. It's I'm just beyond excited to get on this ride and enjoy that whatever happens, come what may, and elbows up, baby.
Hell yes.
For sure.
And they can find you at Oilers Nation Radio, hockeyfights.com. Anything else I should plug for you?
On social media, you can follow me at The Danalytic on Instagram and on Blue Sky Social.
Follow his Instagram is so good. You obviously you're going to continue doing this in the Stanley Cup final. I've been loving the La Bamba post game after the wins.
La Bamba.
So
I appreciate that. Yeah.
They've been great.
For those of your listeners that don't know, yes, La Bamba was a favorite song of former longtime locker room attendant Joey Moss, who had his own struggles with Down syndrome throughout his life, but worked with the Oilers and was kind of our spirit driver. You've seen video of him if you've seen the Oilers ever play the anthem. He's the gentleman that was behind the players bench singing along with it proudly and loudly. But when we lost Joey back in the pandemic, the Oilers decided to kind of come up with a way that we were trying to come up with a way to memorialize Joey, and myself and a few fans came together and we started to campaign for them to use it as the goal song. Awesome. And they ended up using it as the win song. And so we play La Bamba after every victory to be reminded of the spirit that kind of gets us here and just that mentality. Joey had a famous quote that said, "Have fun, why not?" And I just love that kind of stuff where it's just a mentality of being a part of something, and we love it. We love to be able to play that. I hope that there's a radio station here in Edmonton that'll play it for like 24 hours straight if they end up winning. But yeah, appreciate you saying that. Hope to be able to chat to many of your listeners and look forward to talking to you guys soon.
Of course. Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Your passion for the game and for your community is contagious. And we really appreciate you and taking the time today. So yes, that was Dan Gallant, everyone. Follow him at The Danalytic. It's worth the follow. He posts good stuff on his stories and stuff as well. So yes, very thankful for having him on today. We do have to hit a break here soon.
Yeah, that was a great interview, man.
Yeah, that was I love talking to
If you didn't have the Oilers then, you probably do now, eh?
Yeah, right.
He's moved you.
Well, no. I still think in my heart of hearts, I think Florida is going to be too much, but I'm pulling for the Oilers.
Fair enough.
Like how can you not? And especially that's like the story he just shared. Like, yeah, I don't know how you don't root. Yeah, you can't root for that team against the big bad Florida Panthers in this Stanley Cup final.
Big bad Florida Panthers.
Yeah. Huh? All right. I think that's gonna do it for the first half of the show. We've still got more to talk about as well as a Mount Rushmore. So all that and more after the break. Keep it here. Welcome back. Chicago Hockey Radio. We've got another Mount Rushmore, and guess who won it?
Did you win?
Guess who
No
won
way.
it?
Wow.
Oh,
Rare
man.
League Grosman win. Congratulations.
They've been becoming less and less rare, seemingly, unless you shave all the beards off my playoff beards. I seem to be coming away with these every couple. So
well, that's the weird thing. You've been winning a lot, but I think you're still in last.
Yeah,
Like, what do you need to do?
I don't
I
know,
don't understand. Yeah, did I finish third? I think I was team 3, and I think I finished third. So not last.
The problem is a lot of these ones that I win, a lot of times it's fucking our friend Raven and Tim fucking also doing well and like coming in
that's hurting
second.
you.
So I'm not able. So like the gap for all 4 of us is shrunk, but it's like I've still been like 2 points behind them. So I think maybe I'm catching them today with this win. But
is that right?
without further ado, it's another good one. Without further ado, this is Chicago Hockey Radio's Mount Rushmore of stay-at-home defensemen.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is now the time for the Mount Rushmore of stay-at-home defensemen, defensive defensemen, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people should argue or do argue that the NHL should have an award for this already.
Yes, they should. Yeah.
But we're going to do our best to give them their due right now. So, with the first overall pick, it is myself. And with that first overall pick, I'm going to go a bit more recent with my pick. I'm going to go with Jacob Slavin. Not the 1-1 guy, not the guy I'd, even name the award after, but I think recency bias will stick with a lot of people with that one. So,
Yeah,
That's a fair pick.
I don't hate that at all. I
Can't argue with that.
I would
Jacob Slavin.
I'm 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with Nick Lidstrom at number 2. 3 is
Justin.
Oh, 3 pick? Oh, I would go with another Nicholas. Give me Nicholas Hjalmarsson before Jacob Slavin. There was the Hammer. Yes, elite defensive defenseman. One of those players that everybody calls underrated. So I really want to say he was underrated. He was properly rated. I miss Hammer. Yes, sir.
Raven. Who you got?
We lost Tim, but we're still going strong. I'm taking Scott Stevens for my first round pick.
You get
You
2.
do have 2.
I do have 2, and I will be taking Tim Horton for the beginning of the second round.
All right. I think this is the guy that many people would say they named the award after. Give me Rod Langway.
Yeah, that was the guy.
Yeah. Legend. Washington Capitals. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yikes.
Sorry, my fault.
Fall
My
asleep
fault.
there?
Yeah. I was like, for some reason, I'm like waiting for Tim Tebow to go.
Oh, I
For some
forgot.
reason.
He's no longer here.
All right, I need to sprinkle in some Blackhawks before
I
it
know
gets
you're gonna
away
take.
from me. So I'm going to take number 7, Brent Seabrook.
Oh.
I know. I'm going him over Keith. He was the shot blocker. He was the dog. I'm going Brent Seabrook.
I'm going to go Chris Chelios. There's a lot of guys. There's older guys. There's newer guys.
I might have a different definition of stay-at-home defense.
I'm going to go Chris Tanev. With my
Yeah,
next
that's a
pick.
good one. Yeah, Tanev.
I'm gonna.
Yep.
You used to. I'm gonna go with Chara for 3.
This is the definition of a recency pick, but it'll get the votes. And
Alex Vlasic.
how the heck, man, you are so impressive. Yeah, I'm hoping it could be what you're not going to be as good as Jacob Slavin, but if he can model his game after Jacob Slavin and be half as good as he is, I'll be happy with Alex Vlasic. So, Yeah, I mean, he really is. I mean, one of the best defensive defensemen in the game. Yeah, when I think of stay-at-home demon, like I think of guys who probably don't put up a ton of points, but like just their main role.
A guy can be a really good stay-at-home defenseman and still put up.
Oh, I
points.
agree.
Like Zdeno Chara is like just because he.
Oh, you're right. No,
bomb,
there's a fair point too. I just have a different definition.
I think
That's all.
Chelios too.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Especially later in his career, for both those guys. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
With my next pick, I'm taking Ken Danico.
Danico.
One of these days, I'll get to these names right. And for my last pick, we will take. Let's go with Craig Ludwig.
Yeah, fair. I will keep my Hawks theme going. Give me Johnny Oduya. Haven't heard that name in a while.
Haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, Blackhawks legend. I'm going all in the Blackhawks legends on this one. Get the votes.
I'm going to go with a risky pick here and take a player that I despised as a Blackhawks fan growing up, specifically in 2010 as we played
Canucks. BXO.
No, I'm going to go with Chris Pronger.
Yeah. I try to pull you and guess your pick, but yeah, I guess you know me better than I know you.
You can't get in my head.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of guys.
Yes, it was a good shout.
Yeah.
He's a good shout.
Yeah. You dare use your own spells against me, Potter.
Man, there's some good ones.
I can see him processing over there.
I'm gonna go with. There's so many good ones. Jeez. Give me Jay Bomeister.
I kind of love that.
One of the best names.
Yeah.
As a kid, I always found that cool. Jay Bomeister.
That's a good fourth pick.
Yeah. Fun, like, Chell legend.
A lot of guys, a lot of people that could have been. Mark Edward Vlasic is a guy
Oh, yeah.
that could have been picked.
Alex
Eddie
Vlasic's
Shore,
cousin. Yeah.
Adam Foote, new Canucks head coach.
Luke Richardson.
Luke Richardson, Brad McCrimmon.
Joel Quimble.
Oh
wait.
Scott Stevens was picked, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Bear Jackman would have been a good one. There's some good ones, man.
Brothers of Hugh.
Yeah, cool. Dallas Smith. That's all I got. I don't know. Nobody else.
There's
has
a lot of
honorable
honorable mentions in this one. Yeah, there's so many. You could go. Just keep going
Brock
down the
Faber.
list. Oh,
Kevin
get out
Lowe.
of here.
Brooks Orpik is a
Jonas
good one.
Brodin. Yeah. I mean, Faber's Brodin Merchant, is all I like to say.
Brodin Merchant. That's right.
Brooks Orpik, Darian Hatcher, Willie Mitchell. Like, those are good answers, dude. Al McInnes.
Adam Foote.
I said Adam Foote, but yeah. Yeah.
Also, Adam Foote.
All right.
All right,
Go
Adam
back to the show?
Foote. We're gonna send it back. All right, and there you have it. Lee running away with yet another one. I understand the point you were making, and that was kind of like my philosophy going into it. Where like, I guess if you're thinking of stay-at-home defensemen, you're thinking of guys who are known for that and not known for like the
defenseman.
offensive.
Yes. That's kind of what I was thinking there. Players that don't put up the totals.
Yeah. But I had a feeling if I just went with like the most solid defensive
It
players
worked
of all time,
It worked really well.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, the fact that there's an award for like best defensive forward, and yet there's no award for the best defensive defenseman, that's always rubbed me the wrong way. So I think we talked about a little bit on Mount Rushmore. Yeah, if there's the next NHL award, there should be something for the best defensive defenseman, because it's actually a crime that a guy like Jacob Slavin will never win the Norris Trophy just because he never puts up the totals. Yeah, in terms of pure defense, you could argue there's nobody better than him in the league from that regard. So we'll see if they ever come up with that. But anyway, that's your Mount Rushmore for you.
Yeah, I agree with that point though. There absolutely should be a trophy for that. Okay, before we get into anything else, it's very rare on the show that we have like big news break while we're doing it. It always happens after we're done with the show, and so finally we got some news to break down on the show. The Blackhawks have officially, and finally, by the way, I'll say finally.
Yeah, we waited for this one.
Waited this long for this.
Yeah.
The Blackhawks have officially announced their 2025 Stanley Cup representative. Justin, they're going with Tyler Bark-Tusi. What are your thoughts on this? And I don't know. What do you think about the pick there?
I'll be honest. Like, there are other names I was kind of thinking of. Connor Barkard was definitely up there, and Kevin Wolfchinsky.
Those are good dogs.
You know, there's a lot of dogs I was thinking of in the running. So I wouldn't say Tyler Bark-Tusi was kind of like my main favorite for the Blackhawks Stanley Cup representative there. But this is big, man. We'll see if the Hawks can come away with this one. The Hawks are back in the Stanley Cup Finals, but it's Stanley Cup edition. So Bark-Tusi, I think I don't know if he's a favorite amongst the field. It kind of seems like he's like a mid-pack type of guy. Like he's not necessarily at the top, at the bottom. He's somewhere in that middle ground. But
he's probably not going to win it all for you, but he might not hurt you.
Exactly right. He's a good role player. Like, you know what you're getting in Tyler Bark-Tusi. He's very predictable. He's not unreliable per se, right? He's not very flashy, but he just kind of gets in the trenches and he gets in that dirty work done that you wouldn't get out of other pups. He might have had that pure talent, but he has that drive, that willingness to win.
12 weeks old, clearly lacks some experience. Is that going to be a problem for you, do you think?
I like this, though. Like a fresh face. He should have the energy, right? He should have that. Sometimes, some of these pups overthink it, right? They're a little too experienced. He doesn't have that experience, but I think sometimes being ignorant is bliss, especially in a scenario, in an event like this. I just think he won't be overthinking it out there, and he'll just make the right moves and really go about this thing the right way. So here's some stats here. The Blackhawks X, Tyler Bark-Tusi. Breed, he is a hound, a beagle, a cattle dog mix. So he's got a little bit of mixing, a little bit of the mixing and mashing of the blood there.
And you need that. Yeah. You need that.
You need different breeds because different breeds, present different options on the table and different skill sets, especially in a matchup like this. So,
well, it's like we see it all the time, like in the postseason. Just because you're able to score a lot of goals, you have to be able to possess those other aspects of your game. And I think Tyler Bark-Tusi does possess those.
He has those intangibles. He's a versatile performer. He's a versatile player, right? He doesn't always score. He doesn't always show up in the score sheet, but it's his play away from the puck that I think has always been impressive to Tyler Bark-Tusi. He's 12 weeks old, like you said, weight 6 to 8 pounds,
and that's a concern for me. The weight a little undersized for what I'd like. It's the playoffs. It's rough. You need to be tough. We talk about being over 6 feet tall and ideally over 200 pounds. Tyler Bark-Tusi coming in at 6 to 8 pounds. I mean, also, what are we talking about? 6 to 8? Like, is there
pick a lane there. What does that even mean?
When it's only 8 pounds, 2 pounds, that's a big difference when you're talking about something that's 8 pounds. So it's like, is he coming in on some days 6 pounds and he's coming in heavier on other days? Like,
are we meeting in the middle here?
Is
he 7 pounds? You're saying 6 to 8, so he's 6 on a bad day, 8 on a good day. So I guess it depends on the nutrition that Tyler Bark-Tusi is taking in, which just like Tyler, sometimes it's a question mark with Tyler Bark-Tusi. His nutrition, like what's he eating, what's his pregame routine, stuff like that. So he's got to get the right nutrients in before these big games. But I think they always say 10 pounds is that sweet spot. Like you think 6 feet for forwards, defensemen, in hockey. It's that kind of 10-pound window that's a sweet spot for these pups. So he is a little under that. But I think in today's game in 2025, I wouldn't overthink that. I think his skill could kind of trump any size concerns there, especially in the physical battle on the boards. I think he kind of use some of that lightweight to his advantage, and if actually probably show up with speed, especially speed is so big in games like this. So I think Bark-Tusi should be, he should look at this. Like I just brought up speed, right? He actually holds the league record for longest post-game walk. So he's a very durable player, right? He's got that. He can play 25, 30 minutes a night, right? He doesn't have to go on the bench, right? He can stay out there.
Yeah, we always say the Stanley Cup playoffs is a marathon, not a sprint. So it's important to know that news. And we just want to thank the Blackhawks social media team for giving us the good stuff because I feel like we always get screwed on the show without having any good news to talk about. So I hope you guys enjoyed Pup Talk, and I hope we're all feeling okay on Tyler Bark-Tusi because that's who we've got here in the Stanley Cup.
When do you tune in? Is your question? I'm glad you asked. True TV on June 6th at 4:30 Central Time on NHL Network. That is on June 8th. So I guess there's 2 matchups here. So that one's at 6 p.m. Central, the one on June 8th. So look out for Tyler Bark-Tusi, and hopefully we'll do the Blackhawks proud and we can finally win something here. That would be our first cup in 10 years and first Stanley Cup championship, I believe. Yeah, so.
Okay. There you have it. That's what you guys wanted,
That's your
right?
Blackhawks news today. There's literally nothing. I believe. Like I was looking for Hawk stuff. There was absolutely nothing Hawks related to talk about today. So unless you want to talk about prospect talk, the NHL draft combine's going on, so there's that. But otherwise, there's really nothing Blackhawks.
Other than that,
about.
it's Pup Talk
It's
and
Pup
Tyler
Talk.
Bartuzzi.
There you
so,
go.
that's what we've got for you guys.
That's what we got. Yep.
Okay, I do want to have a conversation with you about the Friday show. I know that your angle coming in wasn't that you were gonna mix it up with Chief or push. But
I wanted to be nice and respectful, but I kind of wish I wasn't.
I thought the interview was awesome, and I love Chief. In the clip that we posted on Instagram, if you haven't looked at it, go like that reel. The start of the clip is me saying, I like Barstool Chief. I just think his take on this is weird. And I stand by that. I think it's still so strange that, you've watched Celebrini play one season in the NHL. You've watched Bedard play two. I still think it's too early to say that, you'd rather have Macklin Celebrini. When I look at Connor Bedard, there's things he can do in the offensive zone that nobody else can do. His vision, his passing, it's truly remarkable. And it's yes, I think Macklin Celebrini is going to be an all-star. He's going to be a great two-way forward in this league for a long time. But I think when you look at Connor Bedard, there's clearly a potential there to be a true superstar.
He could be the best in the game. Let's not write him off there. Everybody's already writing him off as a teenager, right? He could still be the best player in the game at his peak, right? I don't think Celebrini's ceiling is honestly even close to Connor Bedard, but people are rating this guy like he's at the same level. Maybe right now, but I think I think Bedard's got quite a bit more runway there than Macklin. He's at a much worse situation to work with.
And the reason why I think it's weird is if you cover the sport, or you cover a team and you're talking about, maybe if you're having this Celebrini Bedard conversation and you're I don't care, just name a random team, let's say a New York Islanders fan, right? Yeah. Maybe you say, I'd rather have Macklin Celebrini, but you cover the team. Connor Bedard is our guy. The Blackhawks are not, newsflash here, chat and everyone watching, the Blackhawks are not going to be trading Connor Bedard anytime soon. He's going to be a Blackhawk for probably a decade and a half, if we're being honest, unless things go absolutely horribly wrong, which I don't think any of us think is going to happen. Connor Bedard's going to be a Blackhawk for a very long time, and Macklin Celebrini isn't. So when you're at this early stage of their careers and you're man, I'd just rather have this other young player, it's why?
It's just such a recency take.
Well, it's not even it's just why would you have that? Why would you say you'd rather have someone else rather than your guy? It's Connor Bedard's your guy. So even if you have that thought, which I still think he's wrong. By the way, I still think Connor Bedard is a better player than Macklin Celebrini. If I could choose to have, if I can make the decision right now to press a button right here and I could have Macklin Celebrini or Connor Bedard.
It's not even a thought, dude.
I'm taking Connor Bedard.
It's not even a question mark. Yeah. To be fair, I think it was Celebrini and Fantilli. But that's the ands there. It's he's rewriting history, but it's why? And I don't see a lot of these same kind of combos for, look at the Bears side, Caleb Williams. It'd be saying, I'd rather have Jordan Love than Caleb Williams. You wouldn't see any Bears people say that. So it just seems odd to me. I guess maybe I just not watching as much Hawks stuff. I don't know. But it is. I do wish I pushed him a little more in that. I did want to be,
he doesn't. I understand it. There's some people that I watch kind of talk about the sport and cover the sport a little bit that they're far more partial towards the defensively reliable two-way players. And I understand that because it's we do see time in and time out. Every postseason, it's you gotta be great at both.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure.
But I just I think Connor Bedard's ceiling is so much higher than Macklin Celebrini's. When I look at Connor Bedard, I'm this is a guy that's gonna be contending, if not winning, the Art Ross every year throughout the prime of his career. I don't see that in Macklin Celebrini. I don't think Macklin Celebrini's gonna be a guy that's gonna break 100 points. I just don't. If he does, congrats to him.
Yeah.
But I think Connor Bedard is going to be a perennial 100-point scorer.
Yeah, and he was glazing, which I respect. He was glazing Patrick Kane a lot, but it's man, it's you look at what Kane was doing his first 2 years in the league. It was remarkably similar to what Connor Bedard has done these past 2 years. And Kane had, he had Taze, he had Sharp, he had Keith, he had Seabrook. He already had like a championship level team around him, which Bedsy hasn't yet. So the fact that Bedsy's put up comparable numbers of Patrick Kane his first couple of years in the league on the worst team in hockey with absolutely no help around him, and you're going to say already that, oh, he's not at that Crosby. Yeah, okay, I would expect anyone in his position to be at that Crosby McDavid level. Nobody in the sphere has walked into a worse situation than Connor Bedard. So I think it is absolutely fair to say as the team gets better around him, it's going to bring out the best in his game too, right?
I'm gonna say a take here that might upset some people, but granted, I was a very young child. I was like 7 or 8 when Patrick Kane was coming into the league, but I watched him come into the league. Connor Bedard is more talented. I don't know if he's going to be as great. I don't know if he's going to be as clutch. We have no clue about that yet.
Could be clutch.
But Connor Bedard is more talented than Patrick Kane was when he came in the league. And I know some people might not like to hear that, but it's the truth.
Yes.
Like, it's to be like, oh, I don't, maybe he's closer to a Kane. Like, I understand not saying that he's not going to be a McDavid or McKinnon.
Nobody can. They're in their own sphere.
Because it's like, I don't think he is going to be either. Because as I just said with Dan Gallant, I think Connor McDavid is the best player to ever play the sport. So yes, like I guess I don't think he's going to be at that level. But to say like, oh, I think he's going to be under Pat. Like I don't think he's going to be as good as Patrick Kane. It's like, why? Like you don't have the evidence that you have so far begs the opposite.
Yeah.
The only because we've never seen this kid in the playoffs. We've never seen him in important games. We haven't seen him with good players around him. All we've seen is just the raw talent, and it's better than Patrick Kane's was. So
it's far too early to come to these conclusions, right? The story is we're only in the early chapters here, right? So I hope Bedsy, and I know he will. I think he's going to take it all personally and prove everybody wrong. But I think we're going to be proud to say when he gets to that point, we're going to be one of the few people who never waver. Because I've been surprised how many, and that's Hawks fans included, have wavered, and if I'm proud to say that we've always stayed faithful to our boy. Yeah.
I believe in him so much that I'm so happy that we're in that position.
Oh yeah,
we can be the guys that were like, yeah, we fucking knew this kid was going to be a super. Like what?
Yeah, it wasn't even a question.
Yeah, he had 60-point seasons playing with fucking Nick Foligno at 35 and insert random fucking
Yulia Mikheyev.
Philip Kurashev, who's not going to be in the league in 3 years. It's like. Like he scored back-to-back 60-point seasons, and you think
people acting like he's a bust,
and we're acting like he's a second-line player.
It's unreal, dude. It makes no sense.
It's like people are referring to this kid like he's going to be like a depth piece. I'm like,
he'll be a compliment. Like, what do you mean a compliment?
Like, dude, you think this kid's not going to be scoring like an absurd amount just on the power? Like, think about what this kid's going to do on the power play alone. Like, we're going to have one of the best power plays in the league for like decades. Like, it's going to be so with all these young players, we're going to have such a good power play. I like you can't take these things back though. Like, you can't act like you didn't have the foresight now.
Everybody's going to do it.
Yeah, and which is so annoying. But it's like, no, I really believe that Connor Bedard is going to be scoring like 100 points a year.
Yeah, I think you're going to be hearing a much different tune. I think even as soon as next season, man, I think, I agree. I think we should, it's a gradual process here. But, yeah, if you don't think he's going to, take away a lot from this year, too, and come out so much better, I think, yeah.
And by the way, I mean, we're going to see it with how much money Mitch Marner makes this summer. But by the way, the guys that are like the best scorers in the world, like, that you have on like two handfuls, like those guys are more valuable than the really good two-way guys. As far as the market's concerned, you can make the argument that the two-way guys are more important in the playoffs. And I probably would agree with that sentiment. But like, I think what you have with Connor Bedard is significantly
those players
more
don't grow
valuable.
in trees. They're rare for a reason. There's a reason it's hyped the way it was, right? So, those players aren't available every draft year, especially. You probably can always find a guy like a Celebrini,
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly. Yep. I think that the players with the scoring sense and feel and just like the way he is off the puck in the offense, like those
mentality
things,
that doesn't get propped up enough. His mentality, he has that same mentality that a Crosby does. It doesn't mean he's going to be a Crosby, but he's going to do everything he can in his power to get to that level.
Exactly.
I can guarantee you that. I can promise you that.
Yeah. And for that reason, it feels like a safe bet on our end. It's
I'm confident betting everything on him.
Like, I want Connor Bedard to be the best in the world. I want him to win Stanley Cups. I want him to win all that shit.
I know he can.
I want him to win that shit more than anyone, except for Connor Bedard. Connor Bedard's the only person that wants it more than me.
I guarantee you he's practicing shots right now in his room or something, or his backyard. He's got his net set up there. And I guarantee you he's training right now every day. No days off. There's a reason he skipped the Worlds. Everybody's clowning him for it, but we'll see if they'll be clowning him in October next year. We'll see how that pans out there.
I want to know what your opinion is on Chiefs' take about Bedard not wearing the C.
What did he say exactly? I feel like I watched
he said
the
that
whole
he
thing.
essentially doesn't have the mentality for it, that a guy like Nazar or someone else along those lines would be more so likely to be wearing the C.
I think that's absurd because the thing about Connor Bedard is maybe you could make the argument that there's like maybe better leaders in the sense of like Alex Vlasic's probably more vocal. He's a little older, more experienced. Like I understand that, but if you're going to talk mentality, like if there's one thing I know and that I can am willing to die on the hill for Connor Bedard, it's that like he's got that dog in him. You see it in his eyes. You can just see it in the.
He's got those Verstappen eyes, those killer eyes.
This is not like really you don't have to be a professional in reading body language to understand that Connor Bedard hates losing more than anything else, and that's the most important thing. So I don't think there's really anybody already in the league that I'm going to be like, yeah, that guy's got a way better mentality than Connor Bedard. Like, this kid fucking hates losing. He gets he hates it. He despises it. Yeah, I think Connor Bedard's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be a great leader. I think he's going to be a great captain if he gets the C. And if not, I'm not going to be a guy that's like losing sleep over it. Because I do think that Alex Vlasic possesses all the traits for a really good captain. But I think if you're gonna take shots at Connor Bedard and critique him, I think his mentality is like the last thing.
I was
to
just
bring
gonna
up.
say, man, I wish you were there Friday. That would have been absolutely electric. Because you're just more adept at like those types of situations where I'm more of a passive. Like I don't like getting into. You're not afraid to get into like shouting matches or stuff like that. Whereas I'm more of an I don't like confrontations and stuff. But you would have stepped up more. I wish I stepped up more for my boy. Honestly, that was
No. I like the way because you were like I don't want to be disrespectful. I love that. Like,
I'm too nice, man. I gotta stop being Mr. Nice Guy here.
I mean, no. It was a really good interview.
I'm gonna keep playing devil's advocate and just the point about he made about what position is Bedard going to be on this team?
Yeah, and
that's a fair point.
Well, and so that's like another thing that I also don't I know people freak out about that, and like with the expectations that Connor Bedard is supposed to be your 1C, and like yes, that's like the most important position. But look, if the kid is going to be way better on the wing, play him on the wing. Don't make him play a position that he's not going to be as great at.
I feel like this is also the point where this kind of comes into most question, because the Blackhawks are in a spot to go out and get someone very big to get on his line. Yeah. Do you get a winger? Do you get a center here? Because that is really going to force what Bedard's going to become. And if he's going to be wearing the C, I think it makes a little bit more sense for him to be playing more of a team role, more of a assist. Yeah. So that makes sense. But if his play style isn't going to change and he's going to continue to be aggressive and play the wings and want to shoot, I don't know. Maybe you do give someone else the C or get someone.
I don't think the positional thing it really matters at all. I know, and that's like a hockey thing that I think people just like put way too much emphasis on. Yeah. And like, look, you can be a winger and be a captain of a team. Like, Connor Bedard's not going to be the first player in history to be a right wing and have a C on his chest. I understand like the counter arguments. The center thing is a good question. It's just like we've got, and that's what's Justin. We've talked about this so many times on the show.
So nauseating.
People act like there's no center prospects in the prospect pool, and that's just not the case. We don't know where these kids are going to slide in. Look, I think Frank Nazar is a top 6 player easily. I think Frank Nazar could be a 1C. He said that he sees Nazar more as a winger. Yeah, I understand that he's like fast and he possesses some of the traits of a winger, but he's so solid. He's proven.
He's a two-way guy, does on the PK. Like, I want him. I think Nazar can absolutely be the 1C.
Literally. Like, Frank Nazar could be a 1C. And he's already proven at the NHL level that he's good defensively and that he can drive play by himself. I think he's shown you all the traits that you want for a young potential first line centerman. So it's like, and then you got the boy Vers. You've still got Spellacy plays some center.
Moore,
You've got
do both, but,
Oliver Moore, who could be an option,
which we don't know yet. I mean,
yeah. So it's like you've got all these guys that are options, and it's kind of just like waiting to see who pans out where. And that's kind of like back to my how I've switched up a little bit as the season has gone on, and I'm less worried about like big free agent acquisition this season. Is like, look, there's still so much unknown with what we have and what this group has, and so that's why I think like if you go and take a big splash, let's say you go out and get like a big name center or a big name winger, whoever it is, and you pay them a lot of money, and then one of these kids that you have develops into a true number one center or a true number one right wing, then you're like, what are we gonna like? Yeah, cap's rising, but like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you gonna be able to keep all these guys? Like, that's where I see the problems coming down the road, and so I'd just rather know what we have or don't have before we're making big splashes and throwing money around.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's like I do see a lot of Hawks fans who glaze this prospect pool all the time, but then also tell you, we need to do this and we need to do that. But it's like, so then do you not have the faith that we might already have those pieces? We just got to let it play out. Yeah. I think just it's a question of knowing that you're gonna have to be patient. But it's like we've already been pretty patient. I think we could wait a little longer here. You know, and not jeopardize what we have. Which I think the fact bringing a Blackhawk guy like that, I think that is the mindset they appear to have right now. Yeah,
and
we're going to take that long road.
With the road less traveled, and just making sure that these kids establish all these important habits.
No, it's important. So, that's really the last step here. Yeah, for sure.
I am more on board as time goes on with some of the decisions of the Blackhawks. I am worried about the draft. And
that's why
I'm sure he's going to go with Frundell there at 3 if there's no trade that ends up happening. And I'll see, because then that's the thing. Okay, you bring in Frundell, then it's like, all right, is Frundell going to be the 1C? Because are you really picking? This is my thing, Justin. Are you picking a guy with the 3rd overall pick with the mindset, this is going to be our second line center?
Which that just
I think that's insane. If you're picking 3rd overall, you should not be looking for a second line center.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all, man. My mock draft, maybe I was being delusional. I still have faith that it could be Misa, but I don't think it would happen at 3. I think you'd have to trade up for it, which I'm going to keep, banging the table for, where it's like, all right, you're not going to be aggressive for agency, be aggressive in the draft. If you can get Misa, that kind of solves that 1C dilemma there.
Yeah,
Justin,
exactly.
You asked Chief what you would trade for.
Yes.
Continue on that with Lee.
Sure, yeah. I proposed trading the other first-round pick, the Toronto at 25, number 34, and then I believe throwing in like a B-tier prospect. And it might take somebody more like a Kevin, but start at B-tier, and if you have to move away up to an A-tier, you could do that. Then the 3 for the number 1. Would you do that?
I do it just because when this conversation that we've been having, like I think that if you get Misa, your 1-2 center punch is figured out, because don't tell me that Frank Nazar is not going to be at minimum a second line center.
Yeah, you already got
just because if you're gonna tell me that kid can't be a 2C in this league at a really high level,
he's already shown it.
I just don't. I'm going to disagree with you and think that you don't really know puck, because I'm watching this kid be unbelievable, and it's like, okay, the only way he isn't a true second line center or maybe a first line center is if he somehow completely regresses, and this is the best Frank Nazar we ever seen.
I don't think that's going to happen.
And so I think that's probably not going to happen.
No.
So
sky's limit for him.
I think if you're able to get Michael Misa, and then you're guaranteed Misa Nazar 1-2 punch down the middle. You give Bedard all the space in the world to blossom into whatever play he can. Whatever
less pressure.
Yep. Whatever works best for him.
That's what I like about the wing, because it does feel like there'd be a lot less pressure on Betsy in that kind of Kaner wing role versus center, right? He doesn't have to worry about being a two-way beast. He can kind of play his game, shoot more, be more selfish, right? Develop more of those playmaking instincts, right? I think that's his game, really. I really do believe that. So if you could put him in that position, but you have to have the 1C, right? If you don't have a guy who could be a 1C, then Betsy's kind of forced to be that. He's kind of forced to be what he might not be. So, but Misa would allow him to play to his strengths more, which they keep talking about that play to his strengths. I think his strengths are more along the lines of the wing. I would agree with Chief there, honestly. Yeah.
I want to throw a trade out to you guys. You trade the 3. You trade the 34, I believe you said, Justin?
Yes.
And maybe another first-round pick in like 2-3 years. Like, start throwing some of the assets that you have in the future, because we already have so many pieces.
I don't think the Islanders would be inclined to take that, because the thing about the Islanders right now is they do have a few pieces in, like, you know, the Dobson, Sorokins, Barzels, etc., that you can build off of. I think that the Islanders got super lucky with getting the first overall pick, and I think you'd rather take Schaefer at 1 here and run away than be dealing that pick to slide down for a less dominant player for, like, first round, for futures that are going to be paying off 5, 6, 7 years from now. So I doubt they would be more inclined to take that. I think it probably, if you're going to trade up, it's going to have to be.
Would you have to have some prospects in there?
You're going to have
to make sacrifices.
It's going to have to be if you're. I think it could happen. Like, I really do think it could happen with the first trade proposal. The late first rounder, the early second rounder, in a B tier prospect. Then the Islanders get their kid they get Hagens at 3. You're able to take a couple guys late in the first round, early in the second, and then you get a solid defensive prospect, because the Blackhawks have so many solid defensive prospects. Like, you want to help out your blue line, you get a, you know, whether it's an Ethan Del Mastro or a Nolan Allen or a Wyatt Kaiser. Like, I would consider taking that if I'm the Islanders, genuinely, and especially since, like, there's so much sentiment. Like, people from there, like, genuinely want. I know there are some people that are like, just take Schaefer, but there are so many people. There's so many Islanders fans that really want James Hagens.
Yes.
So it's like, if you're considering taking James Hagens, like, yeah, if that's the guy you want, fucking trade down to 3. Pick him there.
I think it's. I'm gonna keep throwing it out there because I do think it's a realistic. Is it a little bit delusional? Maybe, but I do think it's a realistic option that could happen. And KD, we know he's made aggressive moves before in the draft. Some have panned out, some haven't. So I'd be surprised if he didn't at least try, because I want to make that work, because Meesa's a guy who could slide in. He's the one guy in this draft who could slide in right away, make an impact on next year's team and beyond. He kind of feels like the missing piece there. So it's like, I'd do whatever it takes to get that and to solve that now, because it feels like if you're picking at 3 and it's not him, it's just it kind of feels like, I mean, it's crazy to say it at number 3 overall, you're throwing a dart at the board, but this is a draft that kind of feels like you're doing that a little bit, you know? There's, like, not really a sure thing after Meesa, you know?
Yeah, and I think that would be a trade that would be beneficial for both teams.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Like, you want to get some more assets here if you're the Islanders, and you want your hometown kid, and you're maybe not super sold on, you know, if Schaefer's going to be a superstar or not, then it's like, yeah, I think that would benefit the Islanders. And for the Blackhawks, I think with what you have, you've got so many prospects. I mean, we've talked about this all fucking year. You've got all these prospects. You've got so many defensive prospects that straight up, you've got like 3 of them that are
There's not enough room for them all.
Because you're not going to have 10 fucking NHL level defensemen playing for your team for 8 years. It's just not going to happen. So you've got the assets. You don't have a ton of roster spots left if you're the Blackhawks. Like, you've got a few, don't get me wrong, in the forward group, but like as time goes on, there's going to be less and less spots available. It should be quality over quantity at this point. Trade some of these assets, get Meesa so that you know what you have down the middle. 1, 2, Nazar, Meesa. You give Bedard all the space in the world to be whatever kind of player he wants. It's the best for Bedard. It's the best for Nazar. It'd be the best for the Blackhawks.
Yes.
It'd be probably the best for the Islanders too.
Honestly, like, that could be the last missing piece there. But, you know, there's another team that's considering trading up to 1. Who do you think that is?
I don't know, San Jose maybe? Or?
Correct, yeah, from David Pagnotta. I know the Sharks are considering trading up to 1, obviously, to get Matthew Schaefer, because, like, if you think we need Meesa, they really need Matthew Schaefer.
That would be electric, Justin.
Because then they take Schaefer, then what do the Islanders do? Do they just take Hagens at 2?
They probably would.
What if they took Meesa, though? Fuck.
That would suck.
Yeah.
That would suck.
And the Sharks get their guy. Because that's like the one saving grace where it's like, okay, maybe the Islanders take Schaefer, but then at least the Sharks don't have him, right? You know?
I don't think the Islanders would trade down to not take James Hagens.
Yeah, I guess.
You know, like, that just doesn't make sense. But that is possible dream scenario and also nightmare scenario, depending on what the Islanders do at 2.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you make the Sharks give up their assets, like that's I'm okay with that. And then if Meesa falls in our laps at 3, I do not care what these other teams. I don't care if we get Meesa. I don't give a shit about the Sharks. Like, I think we have a better prospect pool than the Sharks. I think we're going to be better.
I think you could argue Meesa makes a bigger impact on this roster than Schaefer on the Sharks.
Even adding Schaefer over there, it's like we've our blue line is still
It's still
way
better. It's like, okay, you have Schaefer, you have Dickinson, and then a bunch of Whovilles, you know? So the Hawks have more depth there. Yeah. So I feel pretty good still. Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what these GMs do. I hope Kyle's aggressive with it, though.
He better, he got to be aggressive. He can't afford not to be.
Yeah. I don't want all this talk and all this hype just to get to us getting there on draft day and just picking Anton Frendell at 3.
Here's the crazy thing. I don't even think that would be the most depressing outcome at this point, because I'm seeing other names that's like the Jake O'Briens and the Cam Denoyers. Like Frendell, I feel could be like the meh contend option, where it's like there are other names where it's like, what the hell are we doing here? You know?
Yeah, because it's a trade down.
Yeah, just trade down then, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm with you.
If we're doing Denoyer and fucking O'Brien talk, trade down for the love of all things, man.
Yeah, it's like we have all these assets, man. Start using them. Right? Start making your team better now. Like I think now is the time to be aggressive.
I could also see Kyle Davidson taking a run at JJ Peterka. I feel like
I've seen that thrown out there a lot, swapped in the 3 and the 9, then Peterka. Yeah, I've seen that.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And then you could take one of those guys at 9.
Yeah.
Right? We should be taking at 9, not number 3. And you get a guy like Peterka could slot him right away, and that could be a running mate for Bedsy, right? Everybody's always yapping, and we got to help Bedsy. It's like we could accomplish both here, you know?
Yeah, I think we've got all the assets and all the like. If he wants that trade to happen, I'd imagine Kyle Davidson could get that done.
Yeah, then you could take your then Luke will be happy taking that year's Brantford Bulldogs guy at 9. They'll take that. I'd be content with that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that'd be like the happiest, but like I'd be. Yeah, it kind of checks a little bit of both boxes.
I would understand.
So,
I would understand it. For
sure. I like that more than just staying at 3 and then taking one of those guys there. That would be a little like, okay, what are we doing here, right? You know, don't take a guy at 3 who probably shouldn't be. You know.
Yeah, completely agree. Okay. I mean, we shouldn't spend too much because we still got a Wednesday show that we're going to be teeing up the Stanley Cup final more presumably.
Yeah, if you want to do a little bit, you know, because I kind of gave my initial prediction. Yeah. I said, what did I say? I said Oilers in 7. So what's your? I imagine you're going to be going the Panthers here.
Yeah. So I put money today, and I'm kicking myself for this. So I put 2 wagers, the exact same amount. I put a few coins on Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup at plus 102. And then I also took Connor McDavid to lead the series in points at plus 125. And I checked it like a day or 2 ago, and he was plus 170. And so I'm just like kicking myself for letting all that juice slip away. But I got McDavid to lead the series in points, Florida Panthers to win the series. And the way I look at it is both those things can totally happen. The Florida Panthers can very well win this Stanley Cup with McDavid still leading in points. And I doubt the Oilers win the Stanley Cup this series without McDavid leading them. Like I understand that there's maybe a risk of Draisaitl outproducing him. I just don't see it happening, especially with who Draisaitl's probably going to be playing with night in and night out. So, those are my main plays for the Cup final. I brought it up in our conversation with Dan, but the reason why I lean Florida is I just think that they are rolling. They are rolling right now. The depth, it's not just like reliable guys. It's offensive contribution from the depth. Yes. And the Oilers really haven't ran into a team yet that the guys in the depth have been performing and producing. And then I think those defensemen for Edmonton are going to get absolutely pounded, and I think that's going to be the game plan for the Florida Panthers. It's going to be hey, get after these Oilers defensemen. I know that they've done well, but they're not like these guys are not Stanley Cup pedigree defensemen. You can't.
You can expose them. You can expose them.
And so I think they're going to get after the defensemen. I think they're going to beat them up. I think they're going to get after Skinner. They're going to try to get in his head, and it's like what happens when we see Stuart Skinner's let in 5 goals. You know, it's like, is he going to be able to bounce back from that? Maybe, but I lean Florida, Justin.
That's a fair point. Not to cut you off there, you were cooking, but a little bit of breaking news here. That's maybe a little more important than the Stanley Pup representative for the Hawks. We kind of already knew it, but it wasn't confirmed. Mike Vellucci is the last member of the Hawks assistant coaching staff. We had Sorensen and Peck already confirmed. Vellucci was connected but never confirmed. Now he's been confirmed, and then Jimmy Waite staying as goaltending coach, and Matt Meekum and Adam Gill are staying as video coaches. So we already a lot of stuff we already knew, just wasn't confirmed by the initial team. So I just thought I'd say that. yeah, there you go. Get back to the cup now.
Hope they can get cooking this year.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then my last point about it was just, I think special teams is going to be super important. If the Edmonton Oilers power play is going to hit at a 15% clip or less, they're not going to win this series. They're just not.
Yeah, they're going to need more. They're going to need the power play to deliver. Yeah, they got to win the special teams. If they're losing the special teams battle, I don't think the 5-5 alone is going to get it done, right? Yeah.
And I know Dan said that like they're not as much of power play merchants,
They
but
still
it's
a little
like
kind of are.
I mean,
not as much, but like before, it's like they totally rely on the power play. Now it's like, but it's still an important factor.
Their power play,
30%,
and
yeah.
it kind of killed Dallas, and it kind of killed Vegas too.
Yeah.
And it's like the Florida Panthers have the best penalty kill in the postseason. I mean, I think they're like close to 88%.
Yeah,
and,
so
and it's not like they've been playing cupcake power plays. You know, they had the Leafs, they had and they had Tampa in the first round. Like, I just when it comes to special teams, I am just going to lean towards Florida. And I know Florida's power play hasn't been that great, but neither is Edmonton's penalty kill. And I just this Florida Panthers team and their penalty kill just seems to be so good year after year, and that's one of the things they really lean on. And so. Yeah, I think it makes more sense for me for the Florida Panthers to win this series. But as I said, I'm going to be rooting for the Oilers.
Yeah.
I think that this would be one of those feats that are just like undeniable that we'll be talking about for, I'll be telling my fucking grandkids about, no, dude, Connor McDavid took this team of Oilers that I thought they were significantly worse from the years past. Like the goaltending was such a cluster, they had Stetcher and Kulak playing big minutes. Like it was crazy. And they took them to the Stanley Cup final, taking off wagon after wagon, and then beating the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Florida Panthers, who've looked completely unbreakable this postseason. It would be a feat of epic proportion, and I want to see it because I want to witness greatness. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I've teed up a little bit, and we'll have more time to tee up Wednesday. But everything you just said is true. Like you look at almost virtually every stat, every metric, it favors the Panthers. But I've seen it too many times, especially in these playoffs too. I'm not going to bet against the Oilers again. I'm not going to do it again. Specifically, Mick Try. It just feels like, in terms of destiny, if you're a believer in that type of stuff, it just feels like it's the Oilers' year. I'm going off of feeling here. I do say you should go more off of facts versus feelings, but I think this time around I'm going to go for the feelings to win out. Just the vibes, the synergy, it points for the Oilers Stanley Cup this year for me. So that's why I say Oilers in 7. But yeah, we'll have more time to get into the specifics and the analysis on Wednesday. Which, by the way, what the hell? The conference finals end last Thursday,
is crazy.
and we have to wait 6 days for the Stanley Cup. Which I get it, the logistics. I'm sure it probably ended earlier than expected.
Justin, there's also days off in between games, so it's like
3 days sometimes.
They have the extra travel day, but then there's I think in between games 3 and 4, there's an extra day. They're just spacing it out, and it's like, I don't love that.
The one nice thing is both teams will get plenty of rest. Like they should absolutely both be ready to go on Wednesdays.
But sometimes that just leads to sluggish hockey.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, I just don't love waiting a week for I think we're all really amped up for this Cup final. And it does feel like it takes a little bit of the sting, a little bit of the momentum away when you're just in this waiting game right now. We just had a week of no hockey, so
we'll get you fired up again Wednesday.
Yes,
we'll get you fired up, and we'll do a lot of Game 1 talk specifically.
Oh yeah,
I think Game 1 is super important for the Edmonton Oilers, and so well, I'm sure somebody between the two of us will say the words "must win" at some point.
This Game 1 already must win for Edmonton. This is the type of Cup final where it does kind of feel like every game is a must win. I don't know. Am I crazy for saying that?
Well, I mean, you saw it last year. The Oilers were clearly good enough to win it all, but they let the first 3 slip.
That's the thing. I don't think they can afford to let that happen again. Like, yes, they showed they were almost capable of a comeback last year. No, I do think they gotta. I think if Florida gets off to a lead, I think they have to, get off to that good start and then kind of take the doubt, put some doubt in that Florida team. Yeah.
It's exciting though. Yeah. This Edmonton Oilers team is looked better than they did last year. This Florida Panthers team looks better than they did last year. So this is going to be a sequel amongst sequels, and I'm so pumped for it. So I think that's it though. Yeah. We appreciate you guys hanging out, listening. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Follow us on Instagram at Chicago Hockey Radio. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating and review.
Yes, sir.
And we will see you Wednesday for the hype up for Game 1 and stream Wednesday night.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. We'll see you then.
Adios.